Welcome back. The Turkish lira devaluated a record 7% last Wednesday, the biggest one since the historic crash of 2021. The newly elected Erdogan's government appeared to relax stabilization measures as part of its pivot to more orthodox policies. The pound has been under pressure since President Tayyip Erdogan was re-elected on May 28. We welcome economist Mertkan Hamit to discuss the current financial situation and the impacts on the Turkish Cypriot community. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Actually, it's the first time ever that I'm speaking English, but I think this is a very good exercise, and I believe our viewers, they will not have any problems since we are both Cypriots, so we speak Cypriot English.
Exactly. It will be great if we could have better options, but I think at the moment speaking in English is the best solution, so I believe it will be exciting.
Of course. Now, the election of President Erdogan in Turkey seems to initiate a negative rally on Turkish lira equivalent for dollar and euro. But I would like to have your estimation about this fact.
Yeah. So let me explain by going a little bit back. As you know, Turkey decided to implement its own economic policy, which was seen unorthodox. Since 2021, starting with March 2021, and it's been around 2 years and a little bit more that this policy is being implemented. And this had a significant cost to the Turkish economy. One of the main indicators that we can look is the reserves in the Central Bank of Turkey. When this unorthodox policy started, when we look to the figures, we know that Turkish central bank reserves used to be in better shape. To give a numerical value, the net reserves in Turkish central bank was around $13 billion, while on the 2nd of June, which we can say that effectively the unorthodox policies stopped, the net reserves are in minus $5 billion, and if we exclude the swap deals that the Turkish government made with most of the Gulf countries, it's around minus $61 billion, minus in reserves. This is a significant threat. As a result, we are observing that Turkish Central Bank and Turkish economic authorities started to, reduce the controls over the Turkish lira by letting the currency to float freely. We can't say exactly it's a free-floating process. What we see is that actually the currency rate is, dropped down, as you said, 7% in 1 day, but in 5 days, 12%. But we see that also in the meantime, Turkish government spent more than $4 billion in order to keep the, floating exchange rate under control. So we cannot say that the currency is still free-floating currency, but it is, under a minor influence of the state intervention, we would say. Of course, this was expected. We know that Turkish lira was overvalued, despite it has low value against euro, but it was overvalued for the last 1 year. And now basically we are seeing an adjustment in the prices. We are probably the depreciation of Turkish lira will continue until the decision of the interest rates. As you may know, Erdogan was against the idea of interest. He linked this with his views on economy that the interest is, inconsistent with Islam and the Islamic way of governance. So he resisted for a long time in order not to raise the interest rates. At the moment, we see a different understanding. The central bank's president changed. Also, the economy minister changed with the elections. So what we see is at the moment an expectation that the interest rates, which was 8.5%, will go nearly to 25%. This is like a significant jump when you think that there will be almost 16.5 points of raise in the interest. But this decision has not been made. This is only what we hear from the private sector actors.
Of course, the unorthodox policies, how we call them, is unorthodox for the Western side of you, because in Erdogan's view, I believe is exactly what he thinks that he should do. And maybe this is the reason that he addressed to countries like Qatar to support the economy, the Turkish economy.
Yeah, I would say the idea of Erdogan and his economic team was relied on the fact that when there will be low interest, there will be fast growth, high growth in economy. This will be added by high level of exports because the country has a young labor force, cheaper labor force. Mm-hmm. So they believe that the price competitiveness over wages can make them to gain significant share in the exports. But when we look to the export figures, actually the system didn't work. So Erdogan's orthodox policies numerically proven to be faulty. Of course, he may insist on this in order to expand his sphere of influence, both under his voter base, but also give an international message. But at the end of the day, the game has certain rules. The actors that plays this game are dominated by the profit motive. They are Western, they are based in Western economies. They are following the policies that is mostly accepted by the European Union, United States, or any other Western capital. As a result, I see Erdogan's attempt was futile. He may still insist, but this will give a significant cost to the people that are living under Turkish lira as the currency. I can't say only to Turkey, as well as Turkish Cypriot community, since we are using the Turkish lira as a medium of exchange.
Yeah, I like first to finish with the Erdogan's policies, and then because it's really interesting for us to realize what's going on in the Turkish Cypriot community. But what do you think? What measures Erdogan must apply in order to gain back investors? To make the investors to come back in Turkey and start investing massively in Turkish economy, how they did, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago.
Exactly. I mean, let's put what are the facts about Turkey. We know that the Turkish economy is a vibrant, dynamic economy. We know that it has a significant population. As a result, it has a high consumption level and so on. On top of that, there are certain international developments that put Turkey as a significant actor on the map. These are competitive advantages of Turkey that can build a resilient and a strong economy. But for this, there are certain painful steps needs to be taken. We can maybe divide it into 3 layers. The first layer is the structural reforms. I would say it's been more than 10 years, I would say actually 12 years, that Turkey did not implement any significant structural reforms in order to, adjust its economy based on the needs of the, current economic relations. Second, Turkish President Erdogan and Erdoganomics, that the economical way of his thinking relied on the idea that the Turkish population needs to be cheap labor force for the big investors, and this caused significant delay and I would say destruction of the education system. At the moment, Turkish labor capital, the social capital, is declining. Most of the talented, young, educated people are migrating, facing with a significant brain drain. And at the same time, the system basically unable to absorb high-level investments without, in a free and entrepreneurial manner. So this is the second thing that to do with the democracy, human rights conditions of Turkey, that Turkey needs to improve its, political commitments in order to enhance the quality of life for the people. And thirdly, the economic policies. At the moment, economy is overheated, which means that for the sake of continuous growth, Turkey is letting inflation to, jump. Even though we cannot exactly talk about statistics because reliability of the Turkish Statistics Institute is not very high, but when we look to different sources of inflation, we can see that the official figures and the parallel estimations are doubling down. So if it is 70% inflation, the real inflation is around 140%. This creates significant consumption craziness, because you know that next week your money will not worth as much as you can purchase today. So you want to, whenever you have money, you want to sell. You want to buy something. And for the business people, for the traders, it means that since there's a continuous demand, let's try to inflate the prices freely. This basically created a significant chaos that at the moment Turkey needs to address its first, the inflation problem. But to address the inflation problem, first you need to raise the interest rates. Raising interest rates will bring basically the level of consumption low, the economic activity slow down, and a significant unemployment. So it requires a careful balance of policies in order to control unemployment, but also enable people to get rid of the inflation problem. It's going to be very difficult. It will require significant investment flows. And for those who left Turkey, either you need to offer high interest rates so the speculative finance can come in, or B, you need to improve your human capital, the democracy and the human rights condition, so the real investments can flow to the country. When we look to the period of 2003 to 2010, let's say, we see that there was a relatively better conditions about the human rights, democracy, the freedom of the people, and the operations in the market in terms of, free in nature, that state only there to, observe what's going on. At the moment, we have a very interventionist state, and the interventionist state is not only interfering to the, lives of the people, but also financial affairs that are making all the transactions much more costly. So I think there are three pillars that Turkey needs to follow, but this crisis will not be a short term. It's going to be long and painful.
Long and painful. So you can describe the financial situation of the Turkish Cypriots right now like painful also?
Yes. Actually, this is Turkish Cypriots sort of at the bottom of everything. You know that we are using Turkish lira as the currency in circulation in Turkish Cypriot economy, but Turkish Cypriot Central Bank and the Turkish Central Bank, let's say, do not have any kind of joint agreement in terms of their monetary policy. As a result, Turkish Cypriot economy needs to follow whatever the Turkish Central Bank decides. As a result, we are importing the inflation, and then we have our own structural problems due to the Turkish Cypriot administration is not a remarkable track record about its reform capacity, neither understanding of how the economy can be governed. As a result, what we observe is that even much deepening crisis for the Turkish Cypriots, particularly those who are wage earners. I would say maybe if you are a businessman, businesswoman, investing in certain areas that are attractive, for example, construction sector is one of them at the moment. We see that significant interest has been coming to there, but this is not a long-term thing, and overall it doesn't distribute it evenly to the society. So what we see is actually widening inequality, increasing poverty, at least relative level, and these are really concerning for the Turkish Cypriot community, since we know that the existential threats for the Turkish Cypriots in general are vital problem in politics and economy. And now with the new shock, probably younger generations will be willing to migrate to other countries, or they will not want to stay in Cyprus. And this might be, problematic for the future generations of Turkish Cypriots and as well rest of the community.
how you think things can change to a direction for things to become better, you know?
For the Turkish Cypriot economy, I think no matter what, the main thing is ensure that reunification of the country, you know, one way or another has to be established. We need to understand that for the Turkish Cypriots, the existence, their survival is linked with getting rid of the Cyprus problem. So I think this has to be on the number one. But of course, there are also other steps in the meantime that we can do. For example, green line trade is one of the significant tools that Turkish Cypriots has. The intra-island trade between the two communities can enable Turkish Cypriots to integrate their economy within Cyprus rather than integrating it to any other country. And also it can give certain benefits to the community. I think this is the first thing. The second thing, Turkish Cypriot authorities need to understand the significance of long-term planning and as well as, the structural adjustments, reforms. We have really outdated, conditions for businesses to operate and so on. And finally, the most vulnerable groups, poor, women, disabled, these kind of vulnerable groups needs to have better social protection. They need to be protected from the wild waves that is coming either in the form of inflation or increasing currency rates. I think these are the important steps. Of course, as an individual, I believe that the only way to ensure a strong and resilient economy, both for Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots, is coming through the further integration of their economies. So enabling laborers, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriot laborers, to be able to work across the divide so that they can produce and earn together is one thing. Improving the green line trade is the other thing. And probably for me, one of the ultimate solutions is also not the final solution, but an important step of the solution is to enable Turkish Cypriot economy to adopt euro instead of Turkish lira as soon as possible, including unilateral moves to adopt euro. That is already, when we look to the bank deposits, 80% of the deposits are in foreign currency, not in Turkish lira. So the market is already turning into, non-Turkish lira currencies. So I believe that if we can adjust wages and the payments also in, a stable currency like euro, at least we will limit the damage that we receive from the cost of living crisis that we are experiencing due to the depreciation in lira.
Thank you very much for your participation.